guys, my name is Akshat Goyal and I'm presently a fourth year student at NUJS Kolkata. Today, we'll be diving into the logical reasoning section of the CLAT exam. This is my personal favorite and a subject that I teach regularly at CLATapult in Kolkata. So today we'll understand 5 basic tips or guidelines to ace the logical reasoning section. Number 1, think within the box. What does this mean? This simply means that I want you to restrict your information or your thought process to the passage given in front of you. In school, you will probably hear teachers asking you to think outside the box, be creative. Here, that's something that I not want from you at all. I want you to stick to the passage very strongly. For the simple reason that the CLAT exam does not have any scope for you to use your bias or your previously gained knowledge. They want you to engage with the author's argument and the author's argument only. So always keep in mind that you're thinking within the box and not using any outside information to check an answer option. So how do you test it in day-to-day prep or while giving the exam? Just ask yourself, is this an information that is there in the passage? Is there any proof of this answer option in the passage? Or is this something that I am taking out of my own knowledge previously? And this will help you to think within the box. Number 2, be cautious of extreme words. This is an extremely important tool while solving the logical reasoning section for the simple reason that extreme words can often indicate incorrect answers. So what is an extreme word? Any word that indicates a necessity of an event happening would be an extreme word, such as only, always. These could be words that indicate necessity. Let me give you an example to make this clear. For example, the author says, there may be a blue ball in this particular bag. And an answer option that asks for the main conclusion tells you, there must be a blue ball in this bag. That is an extreme word. For the simple reason that it is not what the author is saying. The author is hinting at a possibility, whereas the answer option is hinting at a certainty. This makes this option extreme and you can invalidate this particular option. This will help you chuck out a number of wrong answers. However, a caveat for this particular tip, be very careful while eliminating extreme words. Just because you see an extreme word in an answer option does not make it incorrect. For example, universal truths could be discussed in the passage, such as the earth will always revolve around the sun. As far as we know, that is true. And even though the word always is an extreme word, that answer option may not be incorrect. So keep it very careful and keep it in mind what the author is saying when you deduce extreme words. Tip number 3 for logical reasoning. Check irrelevancy. A number of times the passage and the answer option, even though they talk about similar concepts, might be very distinct from each other. They might be very irrelevant when compared to each other. Let me quickly give you an example for the same. The passage may talk about, say, school uniforms in Indian schools. So the passage might argue about how schools all across India generally have a uniform requirement wherein students have to wear the school uniform to school every day. In this particular passage, the fact whether your school has a school uniform requirement or not is quite irrelevant because we are talking about a macro event. We are talking about the average of schools all across India. In that circumstance, one particular school will not be a good enough sample size for an answer option to be correct. As such, that answer option becomes irrelevant despite talking about similar concepts. So always check for relevancy and make sure you're not choosing an irrelevant option. Number 4, and this is something that a lot of people make a lot of mistakes in, would be to check who is making the argument. A number of times, students get confused between the author's argument and an argument by a third person that the author is quoting. Just to help you understand this better, perhaps the author is talking about non-violence and the author quotes Mahatma Gandhi's idea of non-violence in his particular argumentation. Now, just because the author is quoting Gandhi does not mean he necessarily ascribes or rejects the views of Gandhi. He might just be using it as an example, or he might be disagreeing with it, depending on what the passage is saying. However, be very careful for not confusing a third individual's argument as the author's argument. Understand that the questions that they ask you at the end of the passage relate to the author's argument, and they want you to engage with the author's argument itself. Alright, that being said, let's go to the fifth and final guideline and tip for solving logical reasoning section in the CLAT paper. Check after elimination. This is the simplest rule of them all, and in addition to our list, just so that you do not make silly mistakes. A lot of times, students use the elimination method to come to the right answer. While I personally believe that you should have a reason for choosing an answer option, elimination can be a method that is useful, especially for difficult passages and difficult questions. However, even though you might use elimination and you eliminate options A, B, C, does not mean that option D automatically becomes right. I want you to go and check whether option D can be eliminated as well, or rather whether option D makes sense. Do not simply choose an answer option that's uneliminated without checking it. So always keep in mind that you require to check after elimination. Now let's quickly go over these 5 rules. Number 1, think within the box. Number 2, be cautious of extreme words. Number 3, check for irrelevancy. Number 4, check who is making a particular argument. And number 5, check after elimination. I hope using these 5 small tips and guidelines will help you answer each and every single logical reasoning question. Thank you so much for joining in, and I'll see you again.